You can't blame her for being afraid. Grey Wind doesn't like her uncle either. He bares his teeth and growls anytime Sir Rolf comes near him.
Send him away, Robb! What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate. Joining me as always will be my brother. We are reading Storm of Swords. What's up, guy?
I'm Zach. What up? This guy can't give my fucking name. Douche.
Whoa.
Anyway, if you joined us before, thank you for coming back. If you haven't, we are full spoiler. That's your warning at the top of the show. We like to talk about the series as a whole, not just this particular chapter. And if you were listening last time, we were reading Arya 2. Arya 2. And Arya, Hot Pie, and Gendry continuing their little run from Riverrun, or toward Riverrun from Harrenhal. Excuse me.
Figure your shit out.
Had stopped in a dead man's garden to pick some vegetables. Old Pate, yeah. And came upon, not yet named, but the Brotherhood Without Banners.
Yeah. Lem and Tom Seven Strings and Anguy.
The Archer.
The Archer. And they led them back to the Inn of the Kneeling King, where Jaime and Brienne have just recently visited with Sir Cleos, where they failed to fall into the trap laid out by Husband.
Nah, get the fuck out of
because
here.
Husband was not nearly on the level he needed to be to capture such
Arya noticed the skiff that Brienne and Jaime and Cleos had arrived in and traded for horses was docked and wanted to take it. And when Lem told her that he was basically giving her an IOU for their 3 horses because they need them to fight the King's Wars.
Didn't Tom give her the IOU?
It was Tom, not Lem, right, yeah. Tom, she told Tom that they're no better than crooks, and instead of his IOU, fuck you, I want the skiff out there. Everyone laughed, and then a new contingent arrived, and one of them Arya recognized as Harwin, son of Hullen, who used to lead her pony around the yard at Winterfell.
And it was an emotional reunion.
And Arya, very panicked, calls out for him, and luckily he does recognize her. Arya Underfoot? And he takes a knee, and for the first time in Arya's, since she's left King's Landing and been separated from her family, has openly been named as Arya Stark, Lady of Winterfell.
Yeah, man, but this chapter, this episode, is not about
Mama Stark, do. It is about Mama Stark.
It is about Catelyn, not Arya. And last we left Catelyn, she was waiting for any kind of news about Jaime and Brienne, whether they made the escape, and Edmure came to talk to her.
She was arrested, basically, told that they need to punish her, but she is still Lady of Riverrun, and so to that end, she was confined to quarters, but she asked to be confined with her father, Lord Hoster, which they agreed to, and she did not have freedom of the castle. She was free to go to the Sept, and that was it. So, yeah, she was waiting, she starved of any news, and Edmure had returned home. Speaking of a battle won and fought, and how he was just thrilled with himself.
So happy about it. And how he had sent out and completely ruined Catelyn's plan by saying that Jaime Lannister was not released by Catelyn. He escaped, and she had no involvement in it. And so now there will be no talk of her daughters being returned, and it's just bullshit. Edmure fucks everything, and way more than he realized. But that was pretty much it, I believe, for that chapter.
Yeah, we're reading Catelyn too.
Yeah.
And this one we pick up, Catelyn knew that Robb had arrived. As soon as she heard the kennels erupt in noise.
He's back.
Because only Grey Wind's scent would cause the dogs to go into such a frenzy. And she thinks that he'll come to see me. Edmure, we learn, hadn't returned since his first visit, instead preferring to spend his days with Mark Piper and Patrick Mallister listening to Ryman the Rhymer sing of the Battle of the Stone Mill. So Edmure's jerking himself off with his buddies about their great victory. But she thinks Robb is not Edmure. Robb will come and see me. Robb is most fucking certainly not Edmure.
Not
my dear.
Yeah, geez Louise.
Excuse me.
And otherwise, she kind of just lays out how not much has changed in Riverrun in the last few days or weeks, however long it's been that she's been confined to quarters.
It had rained for days to match her mood. Cat's so dour. I love it.
And Hoster has basically woken up long enough to, Tansy, forgive me. And then he goes back to sleep.
Hell yeah, he's living the life.
Yeah, man. He's right there at the end of his life, so that's about it.
Edmure shunned her, and Sir Desmond Grell still denied her freedom of the castle, though he at least had the decency to seem shamed about it. The return of Robb and Rhaegar did serve to lift her spirits slightly. It seemed they had walked back, soaking wet.
Which I think that during the chapter with Jaime's chapter where they sank the ship, we may have claimed that they're dead. Like, they're fucking...
No. We were wondering, like, because we knew that, like, how many specifically had died, because, like, they kind of named that, like, I think the Rock crushed one person, but, like, not seriously. And that, they were probably just in for a long trek back.
Yeah.
And so we got to confirm. Somehow the Kingslayer had contrived to sink their galley and escaped. No mention of Brienne.
Right.
Because she's a woman. And she outsmarted them type thing, I believe. Or
that, and it was rocks falling off the ridge, and they might not have seen very well her face, who she was, things like that.
I think
but they should know she was there.
I mean, I'm sure, of course, their hatred for Jaime is, of course, he, set up some devious plot, but yeah, there's no mention that it was Brienne who actually sunk their boat.
But Maester Vaemon would not let Catelyn speak with those men. She wanted to ask them some questions, probably more about Brienne.
Right.
And what happened? How did they fend you off?
She's thinking that Jaime came up with that plan, so, like, fuck, is he in control now?
Right,
what the fuck? Yeah, so I'm sure she wanted to talk to him. But no, that was denied her. She noted something else of import as well. The day Edmure returned, a few hours after her and his argument, she had heard angry voices coming from the yard, and so she climbed to her little roof perch, and she saw knots of men gathered beside the main gate, along with horses saddled and bridled. And one of Robb's banners lay on the ground, the dire wolf, and one knight turned his horse and trampled over the dire wolf as they rode for the gate, and several others followed. Cat wonders if Edmure somehow slighted them, but thinks she sees Sir Perwyn Frey and his bastard half-brother, Martin Rivers, but it's hard to be sure. Close to 40 men poured out of the gates that day, all told, and they did not return.
Yeah, so they just received the news that
Robb got married.
Robb was married. So on the day that Edmure returned, he knew.
Yeah.
So almost credit to him for being able to keep that a secret.
He doesn't care.
His sister, but yeah, he really doesn't.
He's bathing in the glory.
He doesn't see exactly. He's still so caught up with his own victory at the Stone Mill.
She tried to get Maester Vaemon to tell her, but he was like, "Yo, I'm just here for Hoster Tully, man. Like, and I'm not supposed to say anything." And she thinks, but now Robb's back. He'll forgive me. He must forgive me. He is my son, and Arya and Sansa are his blood as much as mine. He will free me, and I will know what happened. And so by the time Sir Desmond Grell came to fetch her, she was already bathed, dressed, had her nice hair combed out, looking dapper.
But she's wondering if she had lost 2 sons or 3.
Yeah, Sir Desmond says that Robb's returned from the west, my lady, and commands you attend him in the great hall. And yeah, here it comes, her moment. And so the hall is crowded when they enter. Every eye is on the dais, but Catelyn recognizes the sigils based on the way people are dressed. She sees Lady Mormont, Great John, and his son, Jason Mallister, and Titus Blackwood. She thinks that half of them would want to hang her. The other half would politely avert their eyes. But she also has the uneasy feeling that someone's missing from the hall.
Yeah, man.
Cat is
She doesn't technically know yet, but she's got a feeling.
It's that there's something missing here. You walk into a room and something's moved, but you're like, right. what is... And we know, it's Grey Wind. Grey Wind is not in the hall. But Robb stood on the dais. A boy no longer, she thinks. War had melted all the softness from his face. He had shaved his beard, but his auburn hair fell uncut to his shoulders. The recent rains had left rust splotches on his armor, or, she thinks, perhaps they're blood stains. Yeah. And on his head was the sword crown that they had fashioned for him. He bears it more comfortably now. He bears it like a king.
Yeah, man, so this whole scene is fucking cool.
Robb is a badass.
The lack of Grey Wind.
But I posed the question to you, but we'll do it again on air. Hell yeah, that's what we're here for. What changed with Robb? Is it just the marriage to Jeyne is suddenly giving him the confidence of a king? Or because he went away to the west and now he comes back and he's setting Catelyn up in this whole
I think
scenario
a lot of
here.
Not to, put him under that thumb, but a lot of it is the fact that he didn't have Catelyn with him. The fact that when he left her side, he didn't have that motherly confidant that he can, confer with.
Yeah.
So he's making these decisions with the great John and with these men. And, he thought he was ready for that. And, he's doing a bang-up job. He had it good to go. Edmure fucks everything. But I think it's having that on his shoulder, the pressure that brings, taking an arrow, actually being wounded, even if it does lead to an infection, is what brings him down bad.
Yeah.
But having that, battle wound.
Elephant in the room. Everything about the Westerlings is sketch as fuck in this chapter.
Yeah, so never before in a reread have I been so off-put by the Westerlings. And
same.
A big part of me is convinced right now that they were planted by
yes.
The Lannisters.
Yes.
We haven't touched this at all,
No.
you and I, yet, but
yeah, we'll get into it as we get to them.
Meet them,
yeah,
but Edmure is currently the one speaking, and he is again
getting praise.
Speaking of his victory at the Stone Mill.
Yeah, Robb is praising his victory. He's standing head bowed as Robb is, saying, something about the Stone Mill. Many men died, but he then jests, Lord Tywin and the Lannisters must have had their fill of the Northmen and the Riverrun because they ran.
So everyone laughs, but not Robb.
Nope.
At all. And, I think that's important because it's going to tie into when they do the reveal on Edmure in the end of the chapter of, no, that was all a fucking show just to make sure that you hold some power here within your own keep. We should have spanked you. We should have bent you the fuck over the king's knee and had somebody come and spank you like a fucking child.
But Robb goes on, saying that the Lannisters will march again, take the field against him, and that there are yet more battles to come, and they all, again, start shouting, King of the North, King of the Trident, and fists pound, and slowly Catelyn is noticed, and a hush grows around her, but she holds her head high, and thinks that it is Robb's judgment that matters. So she is brought forward by Sir Desmond Grell, and she sees Blackfish on the dais.
Blackfish.
And that gives her comfort. A boy she also then notes, the Westerlings. A boy she doesn't know seems to be acting as Robb's squire, and beside him are 5 others that Cat doesn't recognize. And at first she's like, prisoners?
Yeah,
why the fuck would they be on the dais with him? That's weird. So Euphrates Wayne banged his staff as he announces Cat, and looking at Robb, she sees not anger, but apprehension. And she's like, what would he have to be afraid of?
So here we go.
He dreads telling his mother.
I think a lot of it is the apprehension here is he's rehearsed this.
The ploy, yeah.
This
He's hoping
specifically.
he nails this.
He's rehearsed this over and over. It kind of reminds me of, and this is what starts to worry me, Sansa with Cersei. Being scripted on how to act, what to say, what's expected of you. And he has this role he has to play for his mother, the one who knew him the best before he left.
You think it was scripted by the Westerlings?
I suppose.
I feel like he did it himself.
See, I think a big part of it would be the Blackfish as well. Your mother needs to know. How can you, she's gonna. But otherwise, would he contrive this whole thing on his own
think
with
so.
the
Because he's so. I think Robb is so shamed because he knows what happens with Walder Frey from
Right.
that I think this is his own doing.
You think this is 100%?
I do think this is just him contrived. I feel like if they started coaching Robb, that'd be too heavy-handed, and even Robb would be smart enough to be like, they're trying to dictate how I tell my mother. And no, I think this is Robb, his shame and he knows he fucked up by doing the Ned Stark honorable thing.
With that in mind, then that means that this would be fucking. This is player worthy, shit that he's doing right here. This is all.
And that's why I asked that question of what the fuck happened? Is it just that he got laid and suddenly he's like, fuck yeah, man?
With that, I think it's thinking on that. He's going head to head against Tywin Lannister as a strategist. He's studied minor shit with Lewin growing up and under his father, but not battle tactics.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me like if he didn't get, as she'll mention later, he's so young. If he didn't have that inexperience, he wouldn't have had the, he wouldn't have slept with Jeyne Westerling. And with that, otherwise, I think he could have evolved into a fairly decent strategist. He had good plans here that I'm sure were pretty big.
And I think that's more evidence to the fact that the Westerlings are a plant, because that's Tywin's experience. He's a boy.
Right.
He's a boy. And
he's mentioned that. He's called him a boy.
Yeah, right.
And so that would completely make sense.
And
but I do think that it's part of his growth of going against Tywin. He's kind of learned that had to have that edge. So,
it's interesting. But Blackfish leapt off the dais, always the black sheep of the family, not one to give a shit what other people thought. He rushes up and pulled Cat into her arms, and when he said, "It is good to see you home, Cat," she had to fight to keep her composure, and she just whispers, "You too," to him. "Mother." And Cat looks up at her son, her kingly son. Tall kingly son, excuse me.
Yeah, he's getting big.
And she says, "Your Grace, I prayed for your safe return. I heard you were wounded." And he says, "An arrow through the arm, storming the crag. It healed well, though. I had the best of care."
Yeah, he did, man.
And she says, "The gods are good, then. They've told you what I've done." She takes a deep breath to steady herself and says, "Let's just fucking rip it off. They've told you what I've done? Did they tell you my reasons?"
He was like, "Yeah, the girls, my sisters, the Sansa and Arya.
"I had 5 children. I now have 3.
And he starts right here. Like, it's so quick where he starts laying into it with him saying, like, I understand. Oh, no, he doesn't say it until after Karstark steps forward.
Yeah, because Karstark's like, yeah.
I had some, too.
Yeah, and I have one son who once had 3. You robbed me of my vengeance.
I love Kat's turn here, where she just, like, calmly looks at him and goes, "They died in battle, yo. You can't bring them back. Like, what are you talking about? They died a warrior's death. You're an idiot." What do you mean,
Karstark is absolutely right here.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Like this,
I'm seeing Kat saying this. Because the fact that she's getting off the hook because of the fact that Robb is using it as now she can't be mad at me.
Right.
And so, yeah, she's getting completely off the hook with no repercussions
she says,
whatsoever.
The Kingslayer's dying would not have bought life for your children. His living may buy life for mine. And he says, Jaime Lannister played you for a fucking fool. You've bought a bag of lies, nothing more. And my Eddard and my Torrhen deserved better of you. Yeah, like, she freed the fucking most high-value prisoner they had in a blind gamble, out of grief. Understand.
I'm not justifying what she did.
But this chapter is the complete unraveling of Robb between his marriage and the way this is handled. He's going to lose not only in this chapter the Freys, but the Karstarks. Yeah. This is the start of that.
Because I believe it's next chapter where he kills the fucking kids.
It's absolutely like the decimation of Robb here is where this starts, and we see at the end he flounders, and his decision is that he has to get Lord Frey back on his side.
Right.
That's his current ace in the hole, which is, we know, the downfall of Robb. And so, yeah, this whole chapter
is the beginning.
Is both of them, Cat and Robb, and I think
because they both go down.
Corey, I think he says their words should be hypocrites are coming because they are both the most hypocritical.
Yeah.
Because these two are more concerned about each other than about the lords, and Catelyn even says that it's Robb's judgment who matters. Really, darling, it isn't. It's the lords around you and what they think of Robb's judgment of you, and whether or not they're going to follow him. Karstark isn't going to take this slight. His kids were killed as well. By the same family. Like, why are your children more important than mine is what it comes down to.
Do you think that he would have retained the Karstarks had he beheaded Cat as a traitor for releasing?
I don't think Karstark would have wanted her hung or killed.
Imprisoned?
Right. Sent somewhere away from the war. get the fuck away from the war front. It's no place for a lady anyway, let alone the king's mother who's over his shoulder and then no, send her the fuck away. She needs to go to they have nowhere safe really, but fucking send her away. I don't think it would be like, let's go kill her. I mean, I think in this moment he might have called for it because he's fucking hot. But no, I think Karstark isn't demanding that Catelyn be killed, but punished for freeing him. She robbed him of his vengeance. He's absolutely right. Jaime Lannister should have sat in that fucking cell until this war was over.
Absolutely.
And either he was beheaded at the end of it or
they
traded for a prisoner or whatever. Right. And I'm sure Karstark would have been fine with that had it been done at the end of the war as a prisoner exchange, the way things are done. But no. And she and so both of them,
and she got off scot-free.
And both of them do. And because so continuing, she Great John cuts in here and says, Karstark, chill out. It was a mother's folly. And Karstark's like, a mother's folly? I call it treason. And there you go.
Stops.
But,
right there.
That's
He's like,
the truth.
No. And he tells them, he looks at, after cutting him off and saying, it was done out of grief. And he tells Catelyn, love's not always wise. I've learned it can lead us to great folly, but we follow our hearts, wherever they take us. Don't we, mother? And he just completely singles her out and forces her to agree with that. Did I skip something on you?
You keep going. Yeah, nope, I'm with you. I'm on the train.
He's good. He's back. He's here.
Yeah, no, it's the trap he set for her the whole thing.
This is the
I just wanted to note that when he says enough to Karstark, she notes that for an instant he sounded more like Brandon than Eddard.
Yeah. The hothead, the anger,
the
yo, don't you be talking about my mama.
Right, and I just thought that was a little important bit to note that maybe it's not the Ned Stark honor that's necessarily driving
Robb.
That's the
Grey Wind that's peeking through, man.
Yeah, a little more would be fucking nice.
Yeah.
But Catelyn says, if my heart has led me here, then I will make whatever amends I can to both you and Lord Karstark.
This right here is where his plan should, for me, I think, have begun to unravel for Catelyn. She's known him his entire life, including the time as a king, except for when he went away. She knows whether he's lost love. Like, she would have heard rumors. She would have been aware as her, her oldest child, whether he's, he's with this girl here. He just said, I know. I've learned what it can mean to lose in, like...
Well, no, he says that because Karstark shoulders his way from the hall, and Robb says, Mother, you must forgive him. Like, he's angry, he lost his kids. And she says, I will if you forgive me. And he says, I already have. I know what it is to love so greatly you can think of nothing else. Right.
She would know if he was that, right. That's that puppy love where, you're staring out your bedroom window.
This is her wanting to forgive him, so she's associating it to Bran and Rickon. Or home.
Oh, I guess that completely makes sense.
And I thought that, too, that, Kat, you would know that,
he's
Robb's
never
love
lost.
life. Right, yeah. And so, I got to assume that in her willingness to forgive him already, that she's thinking Bran and Rickon. And Robb's like, all right, we must talk of my uncle and other things, and tells Euphrates to call an end, which he does, and everyone moons for the door, and it's then that it hits Kat.
Yeah, no Grey Wind.
Grey Wind who's missing. The wolf is not here. And she notes that he's not at Robb's side where he belongs.
But before she can ask him why, she just gets bombarded by all the people that want to at least save face with the king and show that they support her and her decision of grief, because she's just a woman.
I disagree. I think Lady Mormont is 1,000% legit, 'cause she comes up and grabs Kat's hand, and she's like, yo, Cersei had 2 of my kids. I'd do the same fucking thing.
Yeah. No, I was...
You good girl.
Some of them are
and then,
okay with it and, express...
Great John came up and lifted her and just said,
he didn't give a fuck.
Your wolf pup mauled the Kingslayer once.
So, should we point out how similar Robb and Great John are to Jon and Tormund? And that the Great John is just Robb's Tormund. He's the big
essentially
bear.
A wildling.
He's exactly
They're not
like
so
a
different
wildling.
after all. After the Great John, it was Galbert Glover and Jason Mallister who were cooler, and Jonas Bracken, who was almost icy, but their words were courteous enough. Her brother was last, saying that he hopes she knows that he, of course, prays for the girls as well. And
You're
Cat
a stupid cunt, Edmure.
kisses him on both cheeks and says that, of course, and she loves him for it. And the words are done, and the hall is empty, save for Robb, Cat, Blackfish, Edmure, and the 6 strangers.
The 6 strangers.
And Cat politely asks, "Are you new to my son's cause?"
Who the fuck are you?
"New, but fierce in our courage and loyalties, as we hope to prove to you, my lady." Red flag number 1. Why is it Catelyn you need to prove it to? Because you understand that she's going to be the world-weary wise one who
and whispering in Robb's ear.
you need to be weary of, that she's the one who's going to say, Robb, keep these people at arm's distance, so you need to prove yourself first to Catelyn. That's just sketchy number 1, or it could be polite. I don't know. The Westerlings.
Yeah, so the first person introduced is Lady Sybil, the wife of Gawain Westerling, Lord of the Crag. And Gawain was captured at the Whispering Wood with Jaime Lannister. They're loyal to House Lannister.
Yeah, Cat, it hits her then. She's like, yeah, Westerling, okay, a minor house, sworn to Lannister, yeah. Next is Sir Rolf Spicer, Sybil's brother, and Castellan of the Crag when we took it. And then there's Sybil's and Gawain's children. Reynold Westerling, a knight.
Sir Reynold, yep. Elenya, who is just a little girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't catch the age or anything.
No,
but...
she's just a tiny thing. She does a little curtsy. She's the Antichrist.
And then Rollum Westerling. Robb Squire, the new kid.
He starts to kneel to Catelyn and then realizes no one else does and bows, so he's a little Podrick Payne.
Yeah.
And
Cat's just surprised as fuck that how the fuck did he win the Crag's allegiance? Like, they're loyal. They're a tiny house, like, right near Casterly Rock.
But no wonder, yeah, because Casterly Rock does not suffer betrayals well, so no wonder he's got them here with him.
And last came the maid.
Very shy.
Lady Jeyne Westerling.
Robb takes her hand and presents, yes, the Lady Jeyne Westerling, Lord Gawain's eldest daughter. Yeah, elder daughter. And his lady wife. And Cat's first thought is, that can't be. You're only a child.
Yeah, and then immediately after that, and besides, you're pledged to somebody already. And that's when she's like, oh shit.
What have you done?
What the fuck, Robb?
And then it hits her. Folly's done for love. He has bagged me neat as a hare in a snare. I seem to have already forgiven him. And her annoyance is mixed with a rueful admiration. The scene was staged with a cunning worthy of a mummer or a king. And Cat takes Jeyne, seeing nothing else to do, she takes Jeyne's hand, kissed the girl on each cheek, and welcomed her to both hall and hearth, a little colder than she intends at first.
I have a daughter.
And Jeyne thanks her and promises to be a good true wife to Robb and as wise a queen as she can be. And Cat's like, oh yeah, queen.
Oh shit.
This pretty little thing is now queen. I gotta remember that. And Cat notes Jeyne's body, thinking that at least she'll have no trouble bearing children. And so Lady Sybil's like, yo, this is dope and all, but I'm a little sleepy. So like, why don't we all call it, and Cat and Robb can, chitty chat.
She's been in that West Coast weed.
Right, yeah. She's got some jet lag. And Robb's like, hell yeah, you can talk to the steward, and he'll set you up in some rooms. And Edmure's like, well, allow me to take you, my lord. And yeah, they do. And when they're gone...
Yeah, that leaves them just a minute or two to chat real quick.
Cat's like, yeah, Jeyne's cool, but Tywin's sworn house, maybe? Like, Westerling? And Robb's like, yeah, Lord Gawain's at Seaguard, though. Now I gotta free him.
So hopefully he's down, or else, Jeyne lost her home.
We didn't marry without his consent.
Whoopsie. So.
Well, yeah, he says, and for love of me, Jeyne may have lost all. And she says, well, you have lost the Freys. His wince said all.
He knew. He fucking knew what he did.
And that's when Cat recalls the men in the yard, Perwyn Frey, Martin Rivers, and she asks, how many swords came with your bride, my boy?
Like fucking 40, 50 maybe.
A dozen knights.
And she's like, oh yeah, you remember when Frey gave you 3,000 just to start?
That was just foot. 1,000 mounted knights and near 3,000 foot. Yeah, that was just foot soldiers. Like, you also had 1,000 mounted knights.
And I like the little thought process she goes through right here, where she's like, how could you be so stupid? You're just so... And then she's like, oh yeah, you're young.
No, that's later. She says, because, the amount of soldiers. Robb says, but Jeyne is beautiful and kind and has a gentle heart. And she's like, it's swords you need, motherfucker, not gentle hearts right now. Oh, and it is there. It's right there. Sorry,
Sure.
dog. Sorry,
Wow.
dog. Wow, I like that line for the swords, not the gentle hearts.
That's okay.
I didn't read the next bit. I skipped my own notes. Dick.
She thinks, how could he be so young?
Yeah.
And I thought it's funny that she's, like, after all that, she's realizing because of how well he played her as the king, she's like, fuck, he is still just this little 16-year-old, like, and you want to blame him, but, like, this is what Twilight couldn't do, man. It's a romance that you love to see. If it's legit, then it's legit.
I don't love to see it.
But, like, yes, you do.
I don't.
You're a jerk. You're a fucking heartless jerk.
So, Kat asks how this came to be, and Robb, oh my fucking god, I took her castle, and she took my heart.
He's writing a song, dude.
We took the crag by storm one night. The others were scaling the walls. I broke the gate with a ram, the main gate with a ram, took an arrow just before. This was the interesting bit. Just before Sir Rolf yielded the castle to us. Was that the trigger to yield the castle? Was Robb getting shot so that way the setup could happen?
So, Martin's words here, the way he writes this next bit, while he's telling these parts with them coming over, is just really interesting because it leaves a lot of little, like, holes that could be interpreted 100 different fucking ways.
The wound healed well enough, but soon festered. Jeyne had me taken to her own bed and nursed me till the fever passed. Who the fuck allowed that decision?
That's what...
Who the fuck is allowing Jeyne Poole to make decisions about the King of the North?
Well, so they wouldn't have a maester at such a small place,
right.
But yeah, why... I mean...
Where is Greyjohn? Where is Blackfish? Where are these men beside him? Did they give consent to this? Because it doesn't sound like it.
It's strange that, let's take him up there. Because that's the same thing when because he says that she cared for him. He received the best care. And as he was recovering, it was with that care when he received the letter about Bran and Rickon. And that night, Jeyne came and gave him some extra comfort. So
that's the other point, is right. And then she was there that night that I received word of Bran and Rickon. Why wasn't she dismissed?
Right.
If someone's coming in with a report that serious, why was Jeyne Poole allowed to stay in that room?
And fuck, man.
Jeyne Westerling, Jeyne Poole.
Yeah, she's not there.
Jesus.
No Jeyne Poole.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of questions that.
And so I was the timing of the Castellan.
Him catching the arrow right before.
And then her being present. Now we talk a lot about Marjorie using sex as a weapon, Cersei using sex as a weapon, Mercy chapter with Arya using like all these things.
Right.
Was she told, hey, like, we're going to yield. You need to love him. You need to sway him, and we will present that to Lord Tywin.
And again, just a choice of words. He received the best of care. I mean, is that just because he got a little something on the side? Or does Jeyne know medicine? Because she's a shy young maid. So, younger than Robb, I would assume. So, 14, maybe? Maybe 13, but probably 14 for Robb. So, 14 years, maybe, if she's studying every day to learn medicine, she's able to provide the best of care at the crag. It's just it's weird. It's
just
weird that this maid is the one taking care of the king. Yeah, it's odd, but Kat didn't need to be told what sort of comfort she provided him, and she was like, and you wed her the next day. And he's like, it was the honorable thing to do.
Yeah.
She'll make me a good wife, mother. And Kat's like, yeah, Frey's going to be pissed.
So, I get the honor thing, but as a king, that's
No, there's different decisions that need to be
You absolutely could have been like, I'm sorry, thank you for the care. I know I shouldn't have even potentially gotten you pregnant right now, but I can't marry you. I'm the king. Like, it just can't happen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here, take some gold.
Like, and I know that sounds terrible, but in this world, the way it is,
I'm sworn to another.
You're the king. Like, that's an oath that you took, that you swore yourself to this other person. I know I just took your maidenhood, but, like, you took your maidenhood with me.
This is exactly why Robb is not one of, like, the contenders that I vie for.
To actually fit for kingship.
For king, right.
Yeah.
Because if you can't keep this oath, then, I mean, and it's a relatively simple oath. Like, you know that you're betrothed to another. To just go and marry someone is just so counterproductive.
Right.
It's so stupid. But
Chalk it up to
he
age.
admits that he's botched everything but the battles. If he had just listened to her about Theon, and Kat's like, yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever. What happened with the Freys, the ones he marched with? And he says, Sir Raymond is just dull-witted, and Black Walder is not named for the black of his beard. He went so far as to suggest that his sister would still wed a widower, and I would have killed him for that had Jeyne not begged mercy. And Kat's like, you've done them a huge insult, dude. And he says, well, I never meant to, but Sir Raymond took all their strength with him. Karstark said I should fight him, and Kat's like, yeah, that'd be fucking great.
Yeah, slaughtering
fighting
your
with
own
your
men
own
within
amidst
the
enemies.
walls. Yeah.
And then he says,
which is a funny little thing that she's talking about, fighting within your own walls.
Right.
And
then he says, I thought to arrange other marriages to suitable lords, one from Manderley, Karstark, and he says, if Lord Walder would be reasonable, and Kat's like, yeah, he ain't reasonable.
That's what we've been, and we've heard nothing but that since we first heard about him. And then we met the motherfucker and saw how under-exaggerated he was.
He's proud, he's prickly. He wanted to be grandfather to a king, and you've slighted his honor. And then you tried to offer him lesser houses, which is just going to piss him off more, because he's always been viewed as an upstart. And Blackfish is like, yo, maybe we should move somewhere else and do this. And Robb's like, yeah, I want some wine. Great. That's a good habit to start, Robb.
But then she finally asks, yo, where's your direwolf? Where's Greywind? Jeyne's scared of him.
Yeah.
And so are all the other Westerlings. So we keep him outside now. He's a bad dog.
He is part of you, Robb. To fear him is to fear you. And Robb says, I am not a wolf, no matter what they say. Perhaps if you had seen him kill the man at Oxcross, and Kat's like, I saw Bran's wolf rip out the throat of his assassin and loved him for it. And Robb says that Jeyne saw a knight she had known all her life savaged by Greywind. You can't blame her for being afraid. Greywind doesn't like her uncle either. He bares his teeth and growls any time Sir Rolf comes near him.
Send him away, Robb!
A chill goes through her.
Yeah, dude.
Like, she feels it to her bones, what these that's how much Kat is believing in them.
Again, now Rolf is the one who gave up the castle after
the
Robb
one who
took
yielded.
an arrow, and he just gets growled at by Greywind. Clearly, there's something up there.
All right.
Clearly, like that can't just be a red herring.
I mean, we as readers have the, overseeing eye to see everything. We know there's something to these wolves. We know that they're connected to these children. Sir Rolf is fucking sketchy.
You're bad news bears, dude.
And Robb's like, yeah, am I to send away a good knight and Jeyne's beloved uncle because my wolf seems to mislike his smell?
Yes.
And Kat's like, yo, you didn't listen to me about Theon? Fucking listen to me now. Send this man away. And Robb again is like, oh, should I have him sniff all my knights? Yes, you fucking should.
Yeah,
but Kat says, any man Greywind mislikes is a man I don't want close to you. These wolves are more than wolves, Robb. You must know that. I think the gods sent them. Your father's gods. The old gods of the north. And we learn the disconnect.
He
used to think the same until Bran and Rickon.
Yeah, he had Theon go up there and supposedly kill them. And so now all of a sudden...
So is this...
Does this show how little connection he has with Greywind?
I think this is showing, the severance of it. I think this is a different version of Lady, where there's different ways the connection can die, and
because Jon and Ghost, like, they feel Shaggy Dog and Summer,
yes,
or at least know that they're not dead,
and Greywind,
yeah,
even. They feel him.
So Greywind should feel them as well. That would make sense.
Yeah.
And so if he connected with Greywind, he would see that Summer and
yeah.
He would at least know, no, they're not actually dead. They're not.
And it seems as though he's trying to suppress that. He's trying, if Robb has the warging ability, which we don't know.
We've always just assumed based on the.
If he might be trying to suppress it or not give into it and warg anymore, and it seems like it's this.
This is the downfall of House Stark.
Right, this is Robb's disconnect, and it seems very, to me, similar to Lady. And there was that quote where when one goes into big piles of man rock, it's hard to find the path back out.
Right.
And this could be one of the examples of that, is Robb became a king, and he forgot his, relationship, his attraction, his connection with this wolf,
and how much that made him
a king. Right, it gave him the power of the old kings, and he's now kind of turning his back on that and giving up into the more lavish, marrying who he wants with the power, commanding the lords.
Right.
Robb made a terrible decision regarding Edmure, and that's not debatable.
Absolutely.
He should have informed him that
at the bare minimum, like, I specifically need
Tywin
you not
to go in the west.
Right. There's no reason to withhold that. Like, I mean, yes, yelling at him for doing this, but he didn't know.
You commanded him to hold Riverrun, and there were men encroaching on Riverrun's lands.
You could have absolutely said, listen, defend, but do not
engage.
I need him to
not
cross.
Openly engage. Defend yourself if attacked at Riverrun, but do not send any active battalions out.
But, so they go upstairs.
They go and
he does agree to send
Sir Rolf away just to ease her mind, and says that she's suffered enough, and she gives him a kiss on the cheek, and for just the split second in time, he's her son again and not the king. But then they enter the audience chamber. Robb sits, takes off his crown. Cat rings for wine. Edmure is filling the Blackfish's ear of tales of the stone mill, when Blackfish cuts him off and says, "I think we've heard enough of your boasting, nephew."
Boasting, uncle? Whatever do you mean?
And Blackfish tells him, if I were Robb, I would have beaten your ass in front of everyone, basically.
You should be thankful that Robb was willing to put on that mummer show just to keep you fucking somewhat loved by your people here, you fucking son of a bitch.
Is no one to win glory but the young wolf? Did I steal some victory meant for you, Robb?
Your grace, Robb corrects him
icily. We get the breakdown. Edmure was commanded to hold Riverrun no more. They wanted Tywin to go west so that they could circle down, get in between him and King's Landing. Stannis would have won, would have rid them of Joffrey, Cersei, and potentially the Imp all in one fell swoop, and a peace could have been arranged.
Yo, I don't think that that's crazy at all.
Dude, that's a dope-ass plan.
I think that had Robb been able to parlay with Stannis, because they absolutely would have parlayed.
Yes.
Stannis would have either accepted two options, I believe. The North segregating and becoming one kingdom. I don't know he'd be comfortable with that. I think there's potential in that. Otherwise, Robb kneeling, and I don't think it would be crazy to think that Robb would be willing to do it.
Right. Because Stannis would return the kids. That's the only reason
because it's going to be normal.
Right.
It's going to be, no, you fought against them. Yeah, you didn't bow to me initially. You did hold them. You're willing to do it now.
See, I could even see, Melisandre adds the wild card, but I could even see Stannis consenting to him, while you're in your kingdom, sure, they can call you the king in the north all they want, but when you're in my court, you know who the fuck is boss type thing.
Right,
and here's your sisters, go rebuild your home, get your fucking shit in order, take care of the Boltons, get them in line type thing. Yeah, it's a dope plan. We learn that Edmure delayed Tywin just long enough for riders to reach him from Bitterbridge. Tywin immediately turned his host and found Mace Tyrell and his 2 sons in ships waiting to ferry them to the mouth of Blackwater Bay, where they took Stannis in the rear. And Cat thinks...
Is this what took Littlefinger so long to get back? Was he one of the riders from Bitterbridge?
I think so, yeah.
Do you think Littlefinger just dipped up there real quick?
I think he was, yeah, I think he absolutely wanted to be the one to kind of like show up in Tywin's camp and be like, or he was on the boat with Mace being like, what up, Tywin?
Hey, Tywin,
shimmy
see you,
shake,
bro.
shimmy
I
shake.
sent my riders up to meet you.
Absolutely. Littlefinger was somewhere in that midst, yep. And Catelyn thinks, shit, if Robb had to fall into the arms of a woman, why couldn't it be Marjorie fucking Tyrell?
Now.
Power couple.
Yes. Why can't... Who's to say Jeyne Westerling isn't similar? I mean, obviously house and power, but using... Because Marjorie knows how to play the game. She would absolutely be capable of easily swooning Robb Stark. Like, who are we kidding? Robb Stark would not stand a fucking chance if Marjorie was like, I'm going to be your queen. He'd be like, yes, you are. Of course you are.
I mean, right.
And so... He's so young, he was a virgin, most likely.
Catelyn doesn't know Marjorie's a player.
Right.
To her, she's just a shy young maid.
And the beauty.
Right. Yeah, it's Highgarden.
She met her, that,
Well, no, she's literally saying Jeyne Westerling is a shy young maid. Like, that's what Marjorie is when I saw her in camp, except she has a fucking house that could aid
Why
us.
couldn't it be this shy young
It's not
maid?
Like anything to do with playing the game.
Well, for me, that's what I think is Martin is saying. Like, we're going to see both of them are actually capable players, potentially.
I think things. Jeyne, if anything, is more of a unwilling pawn.
She's not the one that's actually conspiring.
I could see she actually has feelings for Robb and was just doing as was told and was like, he's cute, he's a king, like, that's cool, but then was probably forced to seduce him, like, I mean, it's a dark, dark world. That's what I'm thinking is, Jeyne might not have a say in this. Victim of circumstance. Yeah.
That's where
and her family
I
is
feel
like,
more
you're
like
doing
that.
It.
Like, she's all in with him. Like,
where they're outside, they're like, nope, you're going to give him this for his wound and this for his wound. Now
almost
get the
where
fuck in
we're
there.
kind of looking at them as the Rhaegar Lyanna, but in reality, it is the Rhaegar and Lyanna where they do actually feel for each other.
I don't even know if it's they feel for it. Like, it could be not at all that Jeyne feels anything for Robb. She's just doing her duty as commanded. I mean, she doesn't really show anything to me here at all that expressly says she cares for Robb. Or, I mean, she says she's going to try to be a good wife and wise queen, but, words are wind. But it's interesting, the Marjorie Tyrell thought. What a power couple that would be. But Robb says the next battle will come very soon once Joffrey is wed. Tywin will take the field again against me. And Cat's like, yeah, well, before you be taking the field against Tywin, you need to get your ass back up to Winterfell.
Yeah.
Because if you have no home and men who ravage your family and your home like that are free to walk, you might as well take that fucking crown off and fling it in the river, boy.
Because nobody's going to fucking follow you whatsoever.
And she can tell that Robb is not used to people talking to him like that anymore. But she says, hang Theon in a crow's cage to die slowly and retake our home. And he says, well, last we heard, Sir Roderick had defeated some Iron Men near Torrhen Square and was assembling to retake Winterfell. He may have already done it. Roderick's dead.
Roderick is dead at that point. After he took it, that's when Ramsay fell on him, was after the battle, pretending to be there to help.
Yeah.
Savage. So they realized that they needed to figure out how they were going to do that, and in order to do that, they kind of need to cross the twins.
Yeah, and to do that, and Robb says, we must win back the Freys. With them, there's a chance. Without, I see no hope. I will give Lord Walder whatever he requires. Honors, lands, golds, title. There's got to be something that would soothe his pride.
Oh, there is something. Someone. That's what it said. Someone.
Right.
Yeah, he's that someone.
I mean...
You fucked up, Robb. Edmure fucked up a little bit, and we give him a hard time, but Robb should have said...
No, this one's on Robb. Like,
all the way.
I mean, the glory shit is obnoxious, and that's, what Edmure's about. But, like, if you had told him, I'm sure he would have not probably done it. He may have, and then you have every reason to fucking scorn him. But then you can just straight up deal with it as someone who disobeyed your orders outright and not having to do a mummer's farce of a show of praising him when really all you want to do is fucking strangle him. It makes you look weak. It just makes Robb's court look weak.
Well, we know that at this point he's falling apart.
Well, that's what this chapter is here's the unraveling, the complete unraveling now. Everything
begins here.
Yeah, Karstark is storming out.
We see that they're heading to the twins, the place that, they're going to die at. Yeah. Both of these two. It's the Blackfish survives. Edmure survives, but he's in prison.
Catelyn.
It's just
unsurvives.
Yeah, she comes back. Anyway,
yay, epilogue.
Anything to
no,
say
let's go ahead and convene.
All right,
we'll get our inductees.
We'll catch you over there.
What up, counselors? We're here to do some inducteeing.
That was a cool word. I like that. That was sweet. Yes.
So, you got an inductee for this Catelyn 2 of A Storm of Swords.
Yeah, I decided after having just realized it during that discussion before we convened here, Littlefinger, because he had some involvement here, and I really believe that if it wasn't him specifically, it was a writer specifically sent by him to go and inform Tywin and his forces, the Tyrells, we're doing this,
over here.
Stannis is on his way, we need to fucking move.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, for being fucking everywhere.
And his name isn't really mentioned at all in that story. Well, you just have to recall that he was sent to Bitterbridge.
And we constantly heard from Tyrion, why is he taking so long? That's what makes me think that maybe it was actually him that slipped up there, so we'll have to pay attention to some Tywin talk later throughout the rest of the storms.
Littlefinger.
So yeah, I'm going to go
slipping around in the shadows.
Little finger.
It's dope.
Yep.
Mine is going to Lord Rickard Karstark.
Oh.
Because, literally, his last name is Karstark. He named his son Eddard. This dude...
North to the core!
Is, connected to your family. He's almost an extension of it. And yet...
They literally are.
Right.
That.
And there's no forethought. And...
He was
hot-blooded. He's pissed, but,
Who wouldn't be?
Who wouldn't be? His 2 sons were killed, and the man who killed them, they had him at their mercy. Rickard Karstark wasn't going over there every day and beating the shit out of him to within an inch of Jamie's fucking life.
He was happy knowing that he was a prisoner, a captive,
right, and suffering
their
in chains, as he should be, whatever. And... yeah, and then the unraveling now, he remains loyal. He didn't, fucking throw his sword at Robb's feet and say, fuck you here and storm out. He just stormed out. He's going and cooling off.
Kind of. He's going to brutally murder 2 children, but,
whatever. Shit happens. But he wanted Eddard and he got Robb, and he got robbed. And so, Rickard Karstark, because he put his faith in the wrong Stark, because he thought that, I guess, Robb, and he did. Robb seemed to emulate Ned, and then, he is, to a fault.
And then he turned into Brandon.
But he's got the boneheadedness of that, I'm going to do what the honorable thing is.
Right, he's got the Ned in him where he wants to be honorable, but he's too hot-headed, too young, too...
brash.
To ever actually be the Ned. Yeah. When Jon's much more of a Ned.
Right.
Jon is much more of that.
And that's what it is. Rickard Karstark wanted a Ned, and I guess he got a Brandon.
Yeah.
And so...
Karstark, I like
Karstark
tight.
Yeah, and just the way Cat, self-righteous as fuck, too, turns on him. It might buy life for mine. You're a fool. You're an absolute fool.
Not understanding the repercussions of Robb not punishing you in any way, you getting off like that, and just to yeah, absolutely. Sweet. So we also did, of course, get some emails from our...
Fuck yeah, we did.
Our wonderful listeners. I will start out with Karen wrote in and gave us her cat inductee. And so her take on the chapter. Oh, Robb, you sweet summer child. I know you looked up to your dad, who was the Honorable Ned Stark, but remember he got killed. Sometimes you need to do something your father wouldn't have, like fuck Jeyne but not marry her. How can you be mad at your mom for letting Jaime go when what you did was just as bad?
Hey.
Inductee, the dire wolves.
Fuck yes.
Cat thinks the wolf is not here. Where is Grey Wind?
That's Robb's biggest sin right there.
Dude,
for me,
right?
Is Grey Wind's out in the yard.
She knows how important the wolves are to her children. She saw Summer protect Bran, and she wants Grey Wind with Robb always. So let's bring them all in.
All of them.
Grey Wind, Robb's top advisor and fiercest warrior. Lady taken too soon, but a lady until the very end.
Curtsy.
Nymeria, as fierce and strong as her human counterpart, heading to her own wolf pack and saves Cat so she can become Lady
Yes, she
Stoneheart.
does. Drags her out the river.
Summer, the first evidence of warging that we know of. He protects Bran and his traveling companions. And if the show is to be believed, he will give his life for him as well. Shaggy Dog, for being the best named puppy on the block. He's got wild green eyes, just like me, and he's got what might be the most powerful Stark with him. And Ghost, what can I say that I haven't before? Ghost is everything.
Ghost is life.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for always giving us some great
all
inductees. Yeah, all of them, man.
I love it.
Everybody gets a puppy to snuggle with tonight.
Oh, Barrack's going to be upset.
He gets to snuggle with one, too. Like, hook him up with Nymeria. He couldn't handle Nymeria.
We, of course, got a raven from the Dreadfort. Corey says, hey, guys, instead of winter is coming, the Stark should use hypocrites are coming. I swear the Stark men are getting dumber by the generation. Why wouldn't Robb explain his strategies to Edmure? Shame on you, Blackfish, for not better counseling. And keep that damn wolf beside you at all times. Love is not always wise would be perfect for his tombstone. I love that. Catelyn, you denied Lord Karstark his vengeance, but vengeance for your boys is acceptable. Thank you. And releasing Jaime for love is okay, but Robb marrying Jeyne for love is not. Give your head a shake. I like that. Go give your balls a tug. Did I really enjoy the chapter? But I really did enjoy the chapter. My inductee is Grey Wind for being a lone wolf killing machine. Dude, he fucked up so many people at Oxtross and everything.
Dude, that's sick.
Good luck with the upcoming election. The North will be watching. The election will be, it is election day by the time you're hearing this. So hopefully there will be some good news.
Good news for the world. It's not just for us. It's the whole planet, man.
Yeah, thank you, Corey.
We appreciate it.
Actually, I think the world will be watching this one with interest. Great inductee. I also, I really liked your point. I wanted to make a point on what you said.
Get your shit together. You're a mess.
Yeah, I lost it.
He fucking loses everything.
Oh, Jaime. Releasing Jaime for love is okay, but Robb marrying Jeyne for love is not. It just makes me think of Jaime's line, the things I do for love, and that it's applicable also to the Starks and not just Jaime. And so, Corey, you're rocking it up there, man.
Killing it, dog. So, from way up north in the Dreadfort, we will head way out east, I think. I don't know which way is closer. West? No, I think it's really, really fucking far west. So we're going to go east and head out to Essos with our buddy Julian. Hey, boys of the Trident. Why not, he says. Feels good to read Catelyn meeting again with one of her children. Sweet Robb, who got married like an idiot.
Sweet Robb. Sweet boy.
Between that and the explanation of why Edmure's moves were a disaster after all, this chapter is a festival of mistakes revealed. I would have loved to induct both Robb and the Blackfish for the very good plan they had built to trap the Lannisters. Really a shame it didn't work. But I'm going to go another direction. I want you to give us a little history lesson. Oh, fuck. Because I read Fire and Blood so long ago, I don't remember the story of my inductee today. The first Jeyne Westerling. I remember why she did. I remember she did great things. We can't recall what, how, why. Freshen my memory, please. Have a nice one and good luck. Valar Jeyneris. Can do for you, buddy. I did a little research before we came into this, and so she really didn't do great things necessarily. She was just a plain Jane, I get it, who was a widow. Her husband died right after he got her pregnant, and she went to the capital to marry King Maegor, was it? Or Aegor? Maegor
yep.
the First?
Yep.
Because he requested her for some specific reason. She married him along with 2 other women and was known as one of the Black Brides.
One of the 6 wives of his in total.
Yeah. And
Creepy.
so her baby died shortly after it was born.
It was deformed as fuck.
Missing arms and legs.
Privates of both a girl and a boy.
Not the first...
And Jeyne herself died soon after.
Yeah, and so it doesn't look too great.
I
thought she just died before, wasn't it?
Nope. Jeyne, according to the Wiki of Ice and Fire, Jeyne herself died soon after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it is in 48 AC, Tyenna of the Tower confessed to having poisoned Jeyne's child in the womb. And so, if you would like to, and one of the more interesting bits I thought is that it is interestingly said that Jeyne was married to Lord Alan Tarbeck. She was widowed when Alan died beneath the Battle of the God's Eye in 43 AC. Jeyne was pregnant when her husband died and gave him a posthumous son a few months later. Now, there is a theory out there called the Pup in the North theory, which is that Robb did indeed get Jeyne pregnant before the Red Wedding occurs, and he has her sent away. There's also a lot of business about an heir talk and some documents being signed as being named Robb's heir. This could potentially be a
callback
to that. The first Jeyne Westerling gave birth to her first husband's son after he died. And, I mean, scarily, potentially even the Maegor one, where someone poisons the child in her womb and makes it. And, I mean, Lady Stoneheart?
Who knows, dude?
I mean, she could hate the
girl.
girl.
Well, if these two tie together, it could be a Lady Stoneheart type deal, especially if there is signed paperwork naming Jon as the rightful heir to Winterfell.
Right.
So, yeah, I could see that as being something pretty cool. It definitely aligns with Roose Bolton being a vampire. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's your history lesson for today.
That's the Brotherhood Without Manners history lesson for the day.
Anyway, thank you for writing in, all of you. We love it so much. If you would like to write in with your inductees, you can do so as well. You can hit us up on our email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. You can go and just check out our website, which is brotherhoodwithout.com. Rate us, review us, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Anywhere you can find us, we're on all the good places. Twitter @MannersWithout and @Carstark92.
Righto.
Carstark, look at that.
Hey.
But with a C, because that's actually the name.
Yeah.
But Facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. We have the private Facebook group, which you can gain access to through Patreon. We have started. You can expect some Dunk and Egg content.
Yeah, Patreoners on our Facebook group there, go ahead and send us in Dunk and Egg inductees. Where, as I said, we're doing Hedge Night first and breaking it into 3 parts. So
1, 2, 3.
Go ahead and send us your thoughts on that, and we will be sure to shout you out in the Patreon episode itself as well.
Course.
But yeah, we're getting ready to lay that down very soon. So the sooner you get those to us, the better your chances of making it into part 1 are. And so you can expect those to be released very, very soon.
Yeah, I think within the next week or
knock
so,
them out pretty
week and a
quick
half.
succession and try to get them out to you because we know Patreon has been lacking
They've been so
content.
patient.
And so, yeah, look forward to that. And then next episode, we're reading John 2 of A Storm of Swords.
Yeah, so get us your inductees for those as well. Until then,
Valor to Harris!
peace.